Okay, 944 guys, here's a typical 8 valve 944 head, 83 to 88. They're all pretty much the same, interchangeable 8 valve that is. And you gotta know what you're looking at here in terms of doing your own engine, or if you're trying to buy a spare part. Each one has its own problems, okay, and some are showstoppers and some aren't, just like girlfriends. You get a different set of problems with each one. You know, when I started getting serious with my girlfriend right about the 10-year mark, I said, ain't no way I'm gonna get married, ain't no way, just put it out of your mind. So after we got married, I told her I was gonna work real hard to learn these engines, and so I'll share some of that stuff with you right here now. On this 8 valve head, one of the first things I see is that it's got a broken exhaust stud back here. That can be addressed after it's installed, not a showstopper, but it's a problem. This surface right here needs to be nice and smooth, because all you've got is this thin cam housing seal right here, and make sure you get that thing right side up. It's marked right here with the words oben in German and top in English. If you do that, you'll get this guy, which is your oil passage from your check valve in the head up to the cam housing lined up. You can put this thing on upside down. It ain't gonna work. Okay, you're not gonna get oil pressure. So another thing you're gonna watch out for is these seats right here. Make sure these are nice and crisp. They gotta be clean, they gotta be flat. Your washers should be sanded, because the washers are not supposed to spin when you're torquing this thing down, whichever torque method you got. There's a bunch of different torque methods depending on 8 valve, 16 valve, turbo, 2.7, 2.5. So go by the book on that stuff. Valve guides are almost always going to get replaced, okay? There's your end plug right there for your oil galley. You can see this head has got some significant pitting around the combustion chamber ring. Some of that might be far enough out, so it's not going to make such a difference, but this head is probably going to have to get a bunch of welding done before it gets machined down. So you got to look out for that. And any gouges and stuff, you never know if somebody's tried to take the head off with a tire iron. So make sure all the machine surfaces are nice and smooth, top and bottom. Here's another thing we spotted here. It looks like there's an excess flashing in this water port right here. It turns out, you know, the head couldn't have been installed, at least without that bolt. It turns out it's just a dang spider web. It's just a spider web. But you got to look out for everything on these old car parts, okay? Here's a cam housing right here. This is another 8 valve. You're going to have a 5R or a 9R cam in here, depending on early or late. I think they switched in 87 or so. A few more degrees duration on the exhaust load. Here's your rear hanging eye, engine lift eye right here. Flatten that thing out. These guys here, whenever you take these 15 bolts that hold the cam housing out, 6 on the inside, 9 on the outside, always inspect this housing really, really well. Take the cam out, because I've seen these guys smashed into the ceiling of the cam housing and just sitting there waiting to fall out with the right bump, the right pass over the railroad tracks or something, you know. So 15, do your count, take your cam out and count inside that. Anyway, look at good flashlight and everything, okay? There's 5 seals on the cam housing, right? Not counting your big main one on the base. You got this little peg seal, this little peg seal right here. This one goes on the cam itself. We call it Porsche calls it a polyester seal. We call it an onion skin seal for very clear reasons. It's easy to miss this guy when you're taking apart the old seals, okay? So get a scribe in there or something, a knife, and make sure there's not one of those left over. I've seen whole ones on there. I've seen half of ones on there. Little peg seal goes in the front gear housing. Here's a big O-ring that's going to separate your front cam housing cover, your gear covers. And I like to lube up this guy and the front seal with a product like Sil Glide. You can use any kind of stuff that's friendly to rubber, but it's not going to hurt the rubber, and it's going to make that seal go in without rolling, twisting. It's going to keep your lip pretty true. When it goes in, it won't curl backwards, which shouldn't be a problem, but you never know who's installing it. So it's also going to give some lube while the engine is making oil pressure. I like that. On the front of the cam, you have this right here. It's a sleeve, and this is what your seal rides in. Comme ça. And there's 2 different styles. One kicked in about 1987. That's a 30 millimeter, and this is a 32 millimeter. You can really see the difference in the thickness of that circumference right there. Okay, it takes a different seal. There's a 30-47-7 for the skinny guy, and there's a 32-47 for this guy. All right. The last seal you have out of the 5 is this cork seal out back. You can use that or not. If you use it, you've got to come back and tighten that rear cam cap, the 310s that are on there. Okay, you got to come back and tighten that a couple times because that cork gasket will compress in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You got to come back. On the racing cars with a higher temperature and just tougher work environment, I like to put the rear cam cap on without the cork gasket and use Loctite 574. That's an anaerobic metal-to-metal sealant. It doesn't do anything until you put it between 2 pieces of metal and take away the oxygen. Then it hardens up, makes a nice seal, so we don't have to worry about the cork gasket changing shape with temperature or years of service. On the cam housing, some of the things you want to look out for is this surface right here is the most important, yeah. And you'll find when it goes to the machine shop for cleaning, when it gets installed during its lifetime, you can get gouges and nicks in this. So this has to be nice and smooth and clean. These guys here don't make so much a difference because they overhang on the driver's side of the cylinder head, yeah. But you can find problems like this one I found right here. I can zoom in on this guy right here. There's a little burr on that flat surface part of this boss right here. So you can see that. Be careful with this too. This is a carbide steel razor blade, and that's an aluminum housing. So be careful, nice and flat. But as I do this thing over, you can see it gets caught right there. That is going to keep your cam housing from sitting square on your cylinder head. Yeah, that's a problem. You got to get rid of that. Okay. Another thing I saw on this cam housing is on that same boss, some of the metal got pushed over into the seat where the washer goes. See, that's a nice clear one right there. This has got a problem that has to be addressed. So take a good look at this part and all the parts that you're working with, because you got to see if they're serviceable, if they're just trash, or you need to go out and find a new new part, and then get your job done well like that. So you're going to get a good long-lasting repair and have fun with the 944. All right, talk to you guys later.